Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining me. Today I am going to be walking you through how to contour and highlight your face. This is a completely beginner friendly tutorial. Today I am going to be using the Anastasia contour kit. This is in the color light to medium. As you can see, I have fairly light skin tone. Now this is a good palette for beginners. It is a powder palette, which I highly recommend. If you're new to contouring, get yourself a contouring powder kit. Now I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. It doesn't have to be a kit necessarily. You just want to go ahead and get yourself a couple of individual contour shades that are powder. This is going to be a much easier way for you to learn how to contour your face rather than trying to go in with a cream contour. That can very easily look messy and heavy on the face, and it can become very muddy, and it's just much easier to mess up a cream contour versus a powder contour. Powder gives you a little bit more control, and it's especially good for beginners. That's how I learned how to contour my face, was using a contour kit that's powder. Now, like I said, it doesn't have to be a kit. You can go out and buy the individual little shades. I got these here, which I've actually been really liking from NYX. This is just an individual contour shade. This is in the color Sienna. Now, this is very pigmented, so go with a light hand if you want to pick up this powder, but I really like these from NYX. They're like, I can't remember, I want to say like $4 maybe for this one little shade, but it's a pretty good size. Let me show you next to the Anastasia colors. So it's slightly larger than the colors in the Anastasia kit, and especially if you're just starting out, you don't need 6 shades to start out. I really like the Too Faced Cocoa Contour. This is the exact kit that I learned to contour my face with. It's very easy because there's only 4 shades, so it's not a lot of choices or decisions that you have to make. You just go pick up your palette in accordance to your skin tone, and then you can go ahead and start teaching yourself how to contour just using these 4 colors here. And it is nice because it comes with a small angled brush, which is very good for carving out your cheekbones. You're just gonna need a fluffy brush in addition to that, or something similar to that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a palette. You can totally go and pick up these individual little shades from NYX or whatever kind of contour little powder product that you want to use. Do it. You're just gonna need a cool toned contour shade, and then you're also gonna need a bronzer or a more warm toned shade to bronze your face. Now, if you already have a bronzer at home, like the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, which I love, you can use that to bronze up your face. You don't have to buy a specific contouring bronzing shade. You're also gonna need some kind of powder to set your face. It can be a translucent powder. It can be a loose finishing powder like the Maybelline FitMe loose finishing powders. I really like this. You can use this to set your face. It's totally up to you. Today I'm just gonna show you how to use the Anastasia powder contour kit because I just got this fairly recently and I wanted to kind of give it a try and see how I liked it, but it's totally up to you, whatever you guys have on hand. Alright, so that is enough of an intro for this video. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please click that subscribe button down below before you leave today. I would very much appreciate that. And if you're excited to see how to contour and highlight your face, then just keep watching and let's go ahead and get started. So we are going to start by highlighting, and first things first, we are going to go in with some concealer. Now, I prefer a full coverage concealer. I'm not wearing a full coverage foundation today, but that doesn't really matter. I still like a full coverage concealer, especially under the eye area, and it really helps to highlight the skin. So I am using the Tarte Shape Tape. This is in the color Light. So we're going to start by taking the concealer on all of the high points of our face, and this is not only going to help conceal anything on our face that we want to cover up, but we're also going to be highlighting everything. So we're going to take this under the eyes, and since this is full coverage, you really have to lay it where you want it, and then you can't blend it too much, otherwise it starts looking cakey. So you want to take it and you really want to lay it everywhere that you want the product to be, and then you're just going to go back and lightly blend. So I like to take this all under the eyes and I draw it out onto the cheekbones, and this just helps to highlight. So you're just going up towards the hairline. Now, if you haven't tried this product and you're thinking about it, just keep in mind that it does dry pretty quickly, so you have to move pretty fast when you're using it. We've got it under the eyes, and then we're gonna go ahead and take it on the sides of the nose, and this is just gonna start the nose contouring a little bit for us. So I'm just taking it on the side of the nostrils, basically all over the side of the nose here. And I'm gonna go ahead and blend this and set it, and then we're gonna go back in and do the rest of the face. I'm using the Real Techniques Beauty Sponge to blend this. And you just wanna take the sponge right on top of the product and just bounce it on top of the product. Don't try to smear it or spread it around. You just bounce it right on top of the product and it will do the blending work for you. And I like to take whatever product is left on here and kind of bring it under the nostrils a little bit. Now I'm in the process of trying to find a new baking setting powder that I like, but for now I just have the NYX, this is the finishing powder, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of this right on my sponge. Just a little bit because it's a little bit chalky. I mean, it works, but it's not my favorite. So you wanna dip your sponge in and then you just wanna immediately go under the eyes and set that concealer so it doesn't start creasing. All right, so now that that's all locked in place, we're gonna go back in with our concealer and we're gonna highlight a little bit on the forehead here between the brows. And then we're gonna come down between the brows and we're gonna carry this concealer right down the nose. And this is just going to highlight the bridge of the nose. Now we're gonna do the chin. And then if you want to go a little bit extra step, you can go ahead and take a little bit right below the hollows of your cheek and go ahead and just put a little bit there too. And since we just did all of the highlighting, we're just gonna go ahead and set all of the areas that we just highlighted. We're just gonna set them in place. And I kind of have a yellowy undertone, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the color Banana right here. And I'm just gonna go in with my fluffy powder brush. This is a domed brush, so it makes it really easy to just spread the powder around evenly without getting it too heavy in areas. So I just take the side of the brush and I go right into the powder. This just gives you a smaller surface area rather than going in directly with the top of the brush. I always go in with the side of the brush. Set all of the areas that we just put that concealer. All right, now we're gonna get started with the contouring, and I'm going to start with this center shade down here. This is the coolest color in this palette, and I'm using a small contour brush. This is the Sigma F05 brush. It's a tiny bit tapered on the edges, but it's got a larger flat area on the top, and it's just smaller so it fits right in the hollows of the cheeks nicely. I'm gonna go in and get a little bit of that powder. Again, not too much. And then we're just gonna start placing it in the hollows of the cheeks. Now if you have a fuller face, it might be harder to see the natural contours of your face, so I always just go ahead and do this. And I just start with the product closer to the hairline, and then as I get less and less product on the face, I work it downward towards the mouth. So again, up to the hairline. Just push it right into the hairline and then bring the remaining product down, just using the side of the brush. I'm doing this a little bit more dramatic so that you guys can really see what I'm doing. And then with no additional product on your brush, you just want to go ahead and start blending that. And then a lot of times I will go back in with my same little beauty sponge here and I will just go right along that line and clean it up a little bit, so that you can really see the definition. I'm gonna go back in with my sponge and a little bit of that banana powder, and we're just gonna kind of bake this area a little bit, and we'll wipe that away later. I'm gonna do a little bit more under the eye area as well. All right, now continuing with that same contour powder, we're gonna do the forehead a little bit. This is especially important if you have a larger forehead. I have a little bit of a smaller forehead, so I don't do this too much, but basically you just wanna take the powder right along the hairline, and it just helps to make the forehead appear a little bit more small. Kind of set the powder where I want it, and then I'll go back in and blend it. And I even like to take it down onto the temples a little bit over here. Whatever's remaining on your brush, I just like to carry it down a little bit so that you don't ever have any harsh lines. All right, the third area that I like to contour, I like to take it right along the jawline, not too much, but you go up to the bottom of the ear here, and then you carry it just along the jawline. This just creates the illusion of a more chiseled jaw, especially if you don't have a very prominent jawline. This just helps kind of create that illusion. And when you do this powder on the jaw, just make sure that you carry the powder downward. You don't just have a single line. You want to place that powder, and then you want to blend it in a downward motion so that it looks more like a natural shadow. And then I even like to do a little bit on my chin sometimes, so I'll take just the tiniest amount of the powder. You're just giving a little bit of the definition on your chin there. Concentrated here. And again, this is just totally optional. This is just what I like to do. Blend that into your jawline contour. Next, I'm gonna switch over to this small tapered blending brush. This one is the Sigma E45, and this one is actually for doing contouring on your eyes. But I really like this one to do the nose. It's just that little like rounded tip is really nice for like feathering the nose contour. We're just gonna make the nose appear a little bit smaller. So as you can see, my nose is a little bit thinner here, and then it is a little bit wider at the end. I have a very round nose. So I like to just draw and kind of eliminate that roundness at the end and just make it appear a little bit slimmer and more sleek. So I just start the powder up here, right along the bridge of the nose. I like to make my nose appear a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna make that bridge look a little bit smaller, and then I'm just gonna, once I decide where I want this, I'm just gonna lightly take it straight down my nose. I always like to start with a tiny amount of powder and add a little bit more as I go, rather than starting with a large amount and then trying to blend it. And see how I made it? Instead of this side, which you can see the highlight comes out here, this side just goes straight down. And then I like to take it up, all the way up, and connect it to the end of the brow here. You don't want the line to just end right here, that looks weird. So you're creating that shadow here that's connecting it up to the brow. Bringing this in just a little bit and carrying it down the nose. All right, the last place I'm gonna place the powder is right at the bottom of my nose. And I like to take this in kind of a V shape right here and draw it down. I don't like to do it straight across. I think that makes the nose look a little shorter and it looks a little less natural to me. And then we're just gonna work on going back over that and just blending it. I'm actually gonna draw this part in just a little bit more. See how that line is nice and thin now? And then I just like to go back with the brush and blend it downward slightly, just so that there's no harsh lines. I'm just going back and blending, no additional product here, just blending where that line meets the contour shade there so that it just all looks seamless. And then after you've blended, you can go back in, and if you want to darken it up a little bit more, you can. Just picking up a little bit more of that banana powder and going right on the over top of the edges of that nose contour a little bit here. Okay, now the last place I like to use this contour shade, again, this step is very optional. If you want to do it, you can, but I just like to make my lips appear a little bit bigger. So I like to take a little bit of that product, and I like to take it right in the center above the lip. You put the majority powder right above the lip, and then you work it up towards the nose. It's just adding a slight bit of definition there. You don't want this to be too harsh because then it can look like you have a mustache real easily, but you just want to do just a little bit. And then we're going to take just a tiny bit more, and we're going to do it right on the other side of the Cupid's bow and do it outward. And this just gives the illusion of a more drawn out prominent Cupid's bow, which then in turn gives the illusion of your lips being larger and more plump. And then I also like to go and take just a little bit, see this natural shadow right here, and I just like to put my brush right up in that little spot and work it back and forth and just accentuate that natural shadow there. Just going back and forth in like a round motion because it's kind of a dome. And that just gives you a little bit more of a pout on your lower lip. So now we're basically done with that contour shade, and next we're gonna move on and we're gonna bronze up. We're going back to that big fluffy domed brush. I haven't used this color yet. Let's go in with this. This is a warmer brown shade, and we're just gonna pick that up with the side of our brush, not too much, and then we're just gonna take that directly above the hollows of our cheek here. That's why we take it on the side of the brush to concentrate that color, not onto the cheekbones on that high point and not to this low point here, directly in the middle. So you're gonna take that right above the contour shade, but right below where we're gonna highlight. We're gonna start bronzing that, and it's just gonna help to blend in that contour shade. I like to take this up into the hairline again, and then work it down And then we're gonna get this onto the apples of the cheeks here. And this is just personal preference as to how dark you want it to be. You can just really see our cheekbone area now. And now we don't have such a harsh contour line. And if you're having a problem seeing the apples of your cheeks, just go ahead and smile, and that'll highlight the apples of your cheeks, and that's as far down as you want to take that powder. And then at this point, if you feel like you've lost a little bit of your contour and you want it to be a little bit more dramatic, feel free to go back in with a tiny bit more powder. Again, start up at the hairline and work it down. And then again, go back and clean a little bit if you want. Continue with that same color, same brush, and we're just gonna pat a little bit on the forehead with this and blend it into that contour shade to just warm up the forehead and give it a little bit more dimension. We're just taking this directly on top of that contour shade and then slightly lower. So the contour is the shadow right at the hairline, and then the bronzer, you can take it as far down your forehead as you would like. So again, we're gonna hit the jawline, taking it up behind the ear, and then this one I'm gonna carry down even more than I carried the contour shade. I took that one right along the jawline and then blended it downward slightly. This one I'm gonna take down further onto my neck. All right, so we are basically completely done with the contouring now. So I'm just gonna go back in, kind of dust this brush off so that there's no product on it. And then I'm just gonna go over the places that we highlighted with the brush and just get rid of any of that excess powder. All right, and now we're ready for the fun steps. So we are going to highlight. And to highlight today, I am going to be using the Carli Bybel BH Cosmetics palette. I just really like the highlighting shades in this palette. I like that it has a nice mid-toned gold, and it also has a nice white highlight. If you're new to highlighting and you're looking for a good, like, affordable drugstore highlighter, Wet n Wild has some good ones. So I like anything that's like a lighter pink or a lighter gold or a little bit of white to just accent, but I usually try to stick with lighter gold as a good, like, natural looking highlighter. I didn't put on my bottom mascara because I had to do my concealer and everything first, so let me go ahead and put on my bottom mascara real quick. All right, now we're ready for highlighter, and I am using the e.l.f. small tapered brush. I really like this one for highlighting. The like domed tapered shape is really nice for just placing the side of it right on the high point of the cheek to highlight. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use that gold shade in the palette here. And I really like a good amount of highlighter, so I'm just gonna kind of lay this on a little bit heavy, but that's just my personal preference. You can definitely go in with a little bit less product and a lighter hand if you're wanting a more natural look. You're just gonna place it right on the high points of the face. So starting again up at the hairline here, we're just gonna bring it down, keeping it right on top of the cheekbone here. Setting this brush very lightly on my face. And we're just blending this down. And it's coming down, so this is actually the highest point of our face, right where our cheekbone begins here, and that's where this color is ending, right here. And we're blending it up all the way up into the hairline, and I even like to round it around the tail of the brow a little bit with whatever product is left. And then I've been really liking to highlight right above the brows lately. This is a detailer brush. This is just from Real Techniques. It's just a really super small little pointed tapered brush. I'm just gonna go in with a tiny bit of that highlighter, and you can highlight right along the top of your brow if you want. I just like the way it looks to have a little bit of highlighter right there. Make it at the brow and then draw it up towards the hairline. And then I'm just gonna use this same brush, and I always like to highlight right under the brow bone as well. Then you can take your highlighter in the inner corner of your eye to highlight that area and make your eye seem bigger. And then we're gonna take it down the bridge of the nose. I like to go right down the bridge with the product and then go back with my finger and blend it a little bit. And then I like to go back and put like a little dot right on the end of the nose there. And then we'll go on the lips here on the Cupid's bow, and you take it right along your lips. And you can take it a little bit up if you want, just slightly. And then those are all the areas that I put highlighter. Now, if you want to be a little bit extra like me, I like to go in and pick up this white shade, and I just barely tap it on my finger. That's why I love this palette, because it has both these shades. And then I go back to the highest point of my cheekbone right here, where you can see that gold shade comes down, and I just like to place that right there with my finger. Concentrate it right here, and then I just bring it back. And yeah, that is it. Don't forget to set your face with a setting spray to make your makeup last all day. I am using the NYX Matte Finish setting spray. Just like to heavily coat the face, and then if you want, you can go back with your little sponge and just press that in. All right, so that is all I have for you guys today. I do hope that this video was helpful and you were able to learn something, and hopefully you're walking away from this video feeling a little bit more confident when it comes to contouring your face. If you have any questions at all, please leave those in the comments down below for me, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure that you click that subscribe button down below before you leave today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I will see you in my next video.